militiamen because they were elite forces who were used to gather quickly to fight. They were usually 20 or 25 or younger, and they were strong and enthusiastic. Minutemen were always the first to survive the battle. They were called Minutemen because it was said that they could be ready at a minute's notice. The British soldiers were sent to Lexington and Concord to capture Samuel Adams and John Hancock and to seize the gunpowder. American spies discovered General Gage's plan and spread it by horseback across the countryside.
Wait! The British are coming! The British are coming! The British are coming!
The word spread from town to town, and militias began to prepare. 70 Minutemen and 240 British soldiers met at the Lexington Green. The first shot was fired and was known as the shot heard around the world. The British were forced to retreat to Boston. Colonial militia appeared behind them, using guerrilla warfare tactics. There were over 125 British casualties.
It took a while for the majority to agree with the radicals like John Adams. The colonies were not in favor of fighting for independence. In fact, they offered the Olive Branch petition to the king that requested a peaceful resolution. After the king's refusal, an increase in violence, and the hiring of Hessians, the colonies were leaning toward a resolution. It was shortly after when a formal Declaration of Independence was declared in 1776.
In total, 56 people signed the declaration, including some men who were not present for the voting that approved it. Going from north to south, delegates from each state signed. John Dickinson of Pennsylvania and the delegates from New York, including John Jay, James Dwan, and Robert Livingston, all refused to sign. 4 other men from the states of Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and South Carolina opposed the document but signed anyway in order to create a unanimous Congress decision. Congress adopted the Thomas Jefferson's draft of the Declaration on the 4th. On July 19th of 1776, Congress decided to make a handwritten copy in which everyone can sign, and on August 2nd, 1776, Congress signed their names on an enlarged copy of the Declaration of Independence.
You want to gain your independence? And we have to get all of the loyalists out of America. I don't care who you are, if you're a loyalist, you can get out. Do you see this man right here? Do you see this man? Do you want to play nose? So I'll punch you in the face if you are a loyalist. Friends don't let friends be loyal.
Where did most of the Battle of Bunker Hill take place?
Most of the Battle of Bunker Hill took place at Breed's Hill.
So, who actually won the battle?
The British technically won the battle, but we were able to inflict major casualties that were unexpected by both sides.
What was the whole story behind it all?
2,200 Redcoats marched to Boston in search for American ammunition and supplies. The British were told not to fire till they could see the whites of our eyes. We did not wait that long. While the British were still approaching us, colonial fire broke out, and the British were forced to retreat initially. Eventually, both sides were running low on ammunition, so when the British came to engage in hand-to-hand combat, we were obviously outnumbered and outmatched. We were forced to retreat, but that did not mean failure. 1,000 British troops were either killed or severely injured, while our troops only suffered 400.
Thomas Paine has written the first work to challenge the authority of Great Britain and openly ask for independence from the Crown. Everyone should read this fabulous pamphlet that is spreading colony-wide. If you're unhappy about the government, read Common Sense. If you are a loyalist, read Common Sense because your views will be changed. Also, the pamphlet is written in plain language so all Americans are capable of reading and comprehending. Common Sense. Get some of it.
Early October of 1777, the American army under Horatio Gates was positioned between Albany and British forces that were under General John Burgoyne. On October 7th, General Burgoyne's troops decided to go ahead and attack. The troops fought just south of the town of Saratoga. Burgoyne's forces were dispersed and 87% of his command was captured. This victory gave the Americans confidence because they had recently been defeated at the Battle of the Brandywine, and Philadelphia had just fallen to the British. The battle showed the French that we were not a force to reckon with and gave them the confidence to join the war as an American ally. The French aided by giving financial aid and military assistance.
Prior to the American Revolutionary War, very little gunpowder had been made in the colonies that became the United States. Since they were British colonies, most of their gunpowder had been imported from Britain. In October 1777, the British Parliament banned the importation of gunpowder into America. Gunpowder, however, was secretly obtained from France and the Netherlands.
Britain has restrained our purchases of gunpowder, and we can't fight a war without it. All of our previous supply were obtained from the British. We must now import our gunpowder supply secretly from France and the Netherlands. We have also used our limited supply wastefully in the past. We must use our resources sparingly, especially our gunpowder. If we can get the Second Congress to understand our situation, our purchase needs will be authorized.
Let's get some
Washington
guns.
instructed Marquis de Lafayette, who was currently in Virginia with 5,000 men, to go and block Cornwallis's escape from Yorktown by land, while Washington's forces were joined by 4,000 French troops under Count de Rochambeau. They made plans to attack with the aid of a large French fleet under the control of Count de Grasse. Because British Admiral Thomas Graves failed to break through a French naval fleet, Cornwallis did not receive the backup that he needed. They were able to completely surround the British at Yorktown, and with their 14,000 combined troops, they were able to defeat the British. A large fleet of 7,000 British men arrived, but it was too late to save Cornwallis's troops. Cornwallis surrendered 7,087 officers and men, 900 seamen, 144 cannons, 15 galleys, and 30 transport ships.
If we are ever going to stand a chance against the British Army, we must promote our own army. We barely have enough food and supplies to even fight, let alone we don't even have enough men. Please donate any food or supplies that you can, and please enlist to help this great cause.
On January 14, 1783, Congress ratified the Treaty of Paris. Under the Treaty of Paris, Britain was forced to recognize the independence of the United States. New boundaries were formed, north of the Canadian border and along the Great Lakes, west of the Mississippi River, and south to Florida. Also, in terms of the treaty, American fishing boats were given access to the waters off of Newfoundland, also known as the Blue Meadows, which is British territory. The government agreed that they would not interfere with British creditors and merchants who were seeking to collect debts owed to them by the Americans. Loyalists were also to be compensated for the property that had been confiscated during the war.
Women were aware of the fact that their male family members were fighting for liberty and the rights of man. And some of them wondered if their rights could also amplify their rights as well. Abigail Adams told her husband, John Adams, that when he is writing the new laws, I desire you would remember the ladies, and do not put such unlimited power in the hands of the husbands. She wanted them to help women receive the rights that they so desperately wanted and deserved. They kept America going so that the men could go to war. They maintained the farms and stabilized the economy, served as nurses, and sometimes even soldiers. Yet they were still subordinate to men. This patriarchal society will be sustained for many more decades.